big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. As usual, we're coming to you from my drawing room. And today, as we continue our programming on the COVID-19 impact, I'm joined by three media stalwarts today who are really going to help me and help my audience decipher what's going to be the short, medium, and long-term impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So without further ado, let me introduce the three gentlemen joining me today. First up, we have with me the elder statesman, Sam Balsara, CEO and founder of Madison, followed by Shashi Sinha, who is the CEO of IPG, and the youngest cub amongst the three is none other than Ashish Bhasin from Dentsu Aegis Network. Before I start this discussion and get into some deep, dark and gloomy subjects, I must say I'm so glad that I'm starting the week by seeing all you three gentlemen. I think it's really made my week.
Lovely
But
hearing
let
you
me,
and meeting you as well,
pose the question first to you, Sam. As in, first, let's define the period of this COVID-19 course, really. Most people are talking about post-COVID recovery, but I really want us to understand the present COVID times we stay in and really define how far and how long do you think we will be in present COVID-19? Do you think we will stay in this tenure of present COVID that is fighting the pandemic for at least the next 12 to 15 months?
I would say another 12 months for sure. In terms of what the impact of COVID is going to be, I'd like to see it in actually three parts. I mean, part one or period one would be from the lift of the lockdown to 3 months from May 3rd, and then the next period would be from 3 months to 12 months, and the third period, where I believe we'll achieve near normalcy, would be 12 months on. Of course, when I say near normalcy, I think certain categories like restaurants, cinemas may take a little longer.
That's a very optimistic view, I would say, Sam, compared to the other expert commentary I've been hearing. But let me see if the other two gentlemen are on the same page. Let me come to you, Shashi. Would you say that the impact, as Sam is saying, would take about 12 to 15 months to recover, come to normalcy? What is your sense, since all three of you have your yours really close to most of India's clients? What is the client sentiment today? Is there a cause of panic? Has there been a complete digestion of what has really hit us and the industry at large?
So, Sonali, before that, let me, I think the question you asked was interesting. My personal opinion is the virus is not going to go away. We may flatten the curve, we may reduce it, but till the vaccine is not found, it's going to be difficult. So it will need fundamental changes, and the vaccine, as they're predicting, will be somewhere around September 2021, which is a good 15-16 months away. So I think we must see this entire thing in that perspective, that there will be, the governments will force people to do it in slow manner. So it's not in our hands or the industry's hands how to open up the economy, and therefore which categories will open up. So I personally feel, it'll be a combination of lives and livelihood. And if you go that path, it could take longer. My opinion is it could be longer than what Sam is saying. So I don't know whether when the lockdown is lifted totally from the country, it may take longer than what we think. And then, as Sam said, different categories, different sectors will open up differently. But I just want to caution that you must be careful that the infection will remain. Whether it causes, fatalities or not, I don't know. But it's here for the long haul.
Sure. Let me come to you, Ashish, and let me get to the next question, which is really understanding from you how your clients are really doing. I'm sure all of you are in constant touch with your clients. And ensuring that, key relationships are maintained, and a lot of work is also simultaneously going on in the best a possible manner. What is the current client sentiment? Is there clarity? Are they tentative? Are they, are they in panic mode? What's the sense you're getting?
So, Sonali, at the moment, I mean, it's different for different clients. So, if you leave aside a few, those who have essential items or FMCGs and so on, for most clients, their business is totally and completely shut. And as you know, one of the easiest expenses to cut is advertising. And frankly, everybody has to first think of the safety of their people, how to have business continuity going, the health of their own business. And I don't think advertising is at top of mind with any of those clients at the moment. Everybody is waiting and watching. But the one thing I do want to caution is that there seems to be a general impression around that all of a sudden on 4th of May a switch will be put on and everything will start getting back to normal very quickly. Like both Sam and Shashi said, that is absolutely not going to happen. Even for a client who starts let's say he's able to start his production from 4th of May, it will be a minimum 4 to 6 months. Labor has gone home, factories are shut by the time raw materials come in. So even their normal production to come back to the Jan-Feb level, which in itself was not a great period, is going to take 4 to 6 months. So unfortunately, in these circumstances, I don't think at the moment they're really thinking of advertising. They're thinking of how to conserve cash. Of course, some clients are already planning that, okay, when the opening happens, what will we do? And most of them are thinking of performance-related advertising, which can result in quicker sales, etc. But that's all in a very wait-and-watch kind of a mode. It's for us, it's our bread and butter, so it's very much top of mind. But for them, I think there are many, many more problems, including liquidity, before advertising comes in. So that's the real scenario on the ground at the moment.
Sure. Sam, you've heard both of them. I want to now deep dive into really the impact on the ADEX, the impact on the media industry at large. Now, before this unfortunate event really, came upon us, we saw the ADEX forecast by Madison, by Dentsu, and by Group F. Of course, now we know we have to look at remodeling that entire study, and probably new studies have to come out. We also know that there might possibly be a new pecking order in terms of media. Throw some light on how you see this remodeling occur. What are the new normals we'll see in terms of new leaders in media? And how drastically will we see the ADEX contract?
Well, Sonali, I think it's a given that ADEX in 2020 will contract over 2019, and I think it will contract by a fairly substantial amount. The last time ADEX contracted, going by my memory, was in 2008-9, where I think it contracted by about 10%. I think this time we could see the ADEX contracting a lot more. I would not venture a guess or hazard a guess today. I would hazard a guess 3 months after the lockdown is lifted, because as I see it, as Ashish also said, I think 3 months after the lockdown is lifted, a clearer picture will begin to emerge. But I can say with some confidence that the largest segment of advertising, FMCG, which today accounts for about 30% of total ADEX, is probably going to notch up a substantial number of percentage points and become an even more dominant segment of the ADEX.
Okay, fair enough. In terms of the new media order, the new pecking order of media, post, present, COVID, and of course post-COVID. If at all there is an era called post-COVID.
I think very clearly digital will now, television in my view will continue to be the number one medium, and digital will comfortably become the second medium, leaving print to the third category. I think both outdoor and cinema, which have already been marginal, cinema at about 1.5%, and I think outdoor at about 6%, are further likely to drop down in percentage points because of the nature of the mediums they are.
Fair enough. Do you concur, Shashi, with his view on the new pecking order?
It's a slightly different way of looking at it. Conclusion may be same. So let me explain. What's going to happen, and this is a trend we should have seen in these lockdown days, that CPG, as Sam said, is the biggest chunk of advertising, and a lot of categories, especially food and beverage, underpenetrated. So from a bandit point of view, see, advertising today in India is the top 500 companies, it doesn't go below that. So at least bulk of it. Now, if you look at CPG, if you look at oils, you look at milk, you look at a lot of categories, the penetration not more than 20%. Atta is maybe 10%, 15%. I'm talking about branded products. Now, what will happen is after this, people will go back to trust. They don't want to go buy loose milk or loose atta or loose oil or whatever. So you will suddenly see a splurge happening as and when companies start get their production going. So that's one aspect, So I don't think, and therefore FMCGs and CPGs, because of a variety of reasons, effectiveness will come onto television. So I don't think television will be under leveraged when the production stabilizes. On the other side, what Ashish said is also true, that a lot of categories will move towards performance. So not only auto, which are traditional performance company categories, but also categories like insurance, like retail, like real estate. A lot of them will not retail, but real estate. A lot of them move to performance. So there'll be these two broad trends. So the impact of that, as is what Sam said, there will be TV one side and digital the other side.
Let's talk about really when normalcy will set in terms of not really the normalcy we knew in February and prior to that, but really the new normal post-COVID. And Ashish, I want you to address this. Given that today, most productions have stalled, ad campaigns and adverts are all happening via best possible case through digital, whatever little bit they can do, and via news channels. When do you actually see production really coming back to life? Because by the looks of it, it looks like even in, let's say that we see a decrease in the number of cases, I think we have to dig our heels in for a long time. I don't think the government will really allow large gatherings very soon, and very soon is still not very defined. So given that, if we see production really coming under strain, how do you see the advertising world really jump up and do something about it and actually get themselves back on the treadmill?
The main thing is, when will business restart? If business restarts, we'll find a way to get production. There are some things which will never come back to normal, and we better accept that. If we've learned how to make films from home, the kind of large mega production films, etc., might actually become rarities as we go forward, or at least not as common as it was before. But the way I see it is that this quarter, of course, is gone, is really going to be terrible. This quarter of the calendar year. The next quarter also is going to be bad. If we have good monsoons, and that's a good sign that the IMD has predicted that the monsoons will be on time and will be good, I think we should start seeing some uptick happening around Diwali, because that is also traditionally the season that things look up and more money will be there in rural pockets, and that should start, more people buying toothpaste, soaps, motorcycles, etc. So it's not going to be boom days, but at least that should start normalcy. So if you take that assumption, then I think by around end September, early October, there will be a rush of production. And like I said, people will be finding more and more innovative ways to get over there. But first semblance of normalcy, subject to a good monsoon and COVID not sort of extending too much more, I think will be around Diwali that you will start seeing it. That doesn't mean it'll get back to everything being the way it was, but that's where the first semblance of normalcy will start coming.
Sure. Sam, usually when any of us face personal trauma, that trauma or that shock stays with us for all our lives somewhere. If I look at, COVID-19 as a trauma or shock for all of us as a community, do you think somewhere in all our brains, our behavior will be recalibrated? Do you think overall, for good, consumer sentiment and consumer confidence, and hence consumer behavior will be recalibrated for life?
I personally don't think so, Sonali. I mean, I don't think so that the scar will remain for life. I think man is a highly adaptive animal, and especially we in India and Indians are more adaptive than people in the West. I think it comes out of our ability to have been born in scarcity, and I personally feel that we are going to, if sort of things in India become normal soon, then I mean, when I say normal, I mean if we see signs of the number of incidences coming down, then I would see that this scar is not going to last for more than a year.
Okay. Let's hear that from Shashi and his view on. Do you have a contra view to
Absolutely,
Sam on
absolutely.
terms of?
I mean, I have a lot of regard and respect for Sam, but on this one, I have a totally different view. I think there are going to be fundamental changes in everything which we do, starting for the way we behave ourselves with families, our own interpretation of trust. How do we look at trust? Whom do we trust? Brands, our environment. In every respect, there will be change. Working from home, empathy. So all this will finally manifest into our profession. In cars, do we travel? Do we build in social distancing or physical distancing? So I think there's going to be fundamental, the way we bond with families, So all this will have a role to play. I mean, I alluded to this earlier when I said that branded penetration will go up in a lot of categories. There are many other manifestations. People are talking about auto, that, low price auto, people will now say, listen, it's safer to drive on your own rather than in a train or whatever. So I personally believe it may take time, but there will be dramatic fundamental changes.
Ashish, we have seen a direct impact, with the media industry, be it media houses, be it media agencies, advertising agencies, broadcasters, you name it. My point is, this model has been very dependent on advertising. Do you think going forward that this model will kind of shatter, in a graded form, and we see, less dependency going forward on advertising, more subscription? Do you see the market actually right size, shrink, and then right size going forward?
Look, Sonali, I feel that from an India point of view, that was something waiting to happen anyway. Maybe the COVID situation has in some ways hugely accelerated it, something that would have taken 3 to 5 years. It's probably made it happen in 3 months. But that was going to happen because I don't think there is enough advertising going around to support so many new digital ventures, television ventures, print ventures, out of home, you name it. Everybody vying for the same dollar. There just isn't that many advertising dollars. So definitely subscription will become more and more important. I think one good example of that is that newspapers have not been distributed in Bombay, for example, for a long period of time, but everybody is still reading the newspaper, right? You get the e-versions, everybody is reading their daily newspapers. Sooner than later, they'll start charging for it. So I think subscriptions will become definitely the order. What it will also do on the agency side is that there were some of these old world dinosaurish kind of agencies which were still debating, is there going to be digital, is there not going to be digital kind of, there was sort of grandfather type agencies which were there. I think their demise will also be accelerated. So I think there will be all round change, and that will definitely be permanent. It's not going to be a temporary bit, but I totally agree with you that we are entering an era of subscription where you pay more for what you use. And similarly in client agency relationships, it will become more of what's in scope for me. You pay for that. You want anything extra, you got to pay extra. You want something less, you don't pay that much. So the whole way of doing business, which in any case was heading over there, will now get much more accelerated.
Ashish, let's get some masala and controversy in. Who are these grandfather fuddy-duddy agencies?
All those who, many of them who've been saying that digital is something that is there on the fringes, it's nice to put in presentations, but it's not going to happen in the near future, etc. Of course, television will be the largest medium for a long time in India, and print will be a very valuable medium. But I think generally everything, even products, are now going to be significantly impacted by digital. Out of home is going to go digital. And also, that old world way of doing grandiose productions and taking 6 months to conceive ideas, etc., that's gone. We are into an era of real-time marketing where performance is going to be very key. Today, the clients were already asking for ROI. I think after this, ROI will probably become most critical, because if I'm spending even 1 rupee which is going to be short with me with the liquidity crisis and so on, I want to make sure that that buck gives me the biggest bang. So all agencies who were avoiding that, I think, will get into deeper trouble in that sense. And equally, production houses or media houses who were relying largely on, let me get more eyeballs at whatever cost, and it doesn't matter what the cost of subscription is, I think they'll also have to rethink their models in many ways.
Whilst I agree with Ashish that digital will begin to play a more important role, I don't disagree with that. Having said that, I must also tell you that I do feel that strong long-term players, even in the Indian market, understand now the importance of brand.
Sure. Shashi, I'm running out of time, but I want to ask you one last question before I wrap, especially to you and Ashish. Both IPG and Dentsu, and of course other holding companies, have already started, job cuts and furloughs. I want to know what kind of impact we'll see in India. I understand these are business decisions, and all three of you, and actually every industry leader today, are from peacetime warriors, they've now become wartime warriors. So as a wartime leader now, how are you going to be dealing with the kind of business impact this entire pandemic will have on all our respective businesses?
So, listen, to be honest and direct with you, Sonali, on this, we are an American company, and 50% or 45% of our revenues in business comes from North America. And you know what's happening in North America, you can see it for yourself. So the American psyche will be, minimize costs in whatever way, and I'm sure rightly so they're going that path. Now we have to interpret it for our culture. The Indian culture is, we don't have social security here. We have more family bonding, a lot of other things. People have worked with our companies for 20, 30 years or whatever. So we have to interpret those diktats in what is relevant to us. And I'm happy to report our global masters will allow us that freedom. So to answer your question, maybe job cuts not at this juncture. Salary cuts maybe definitely being the situation we'll watch. But our mantra is going to be seniors will start. We will lead the way it is, and if the salary cuts are, we'll try and make it as light for our youngsters as possible. And hopefully job cuts will be the last resort, if at all, if we come to that stage. Otherwise, hopefully we will not come to that stage. But definitely there'll be some impact being part of a global multinational.
Sure. If I can throw that question to you, Ashish.
I think as leaders, the first thing we have to do is we have to be very honest and transparent with our people. You've got to tell them that, look, this is an emergency of the kind we've never seen before, and therefore it will impact everybody, junior, senior, anyone and everyone. All wastage of any kind has to be cut. All discretionary expenditure has to be cut. Things like bonuses, increments obviously will be impacted. Future hiring will be impacted. By and large, I would like that we are able to get our people together, and starting with the seniors being most impacted to the junior being least impacted or not impacted, we've got to find ways that everybody takes a little bit of pain, so that, like Shashi said, culturally we avoid having to let go of people. I hope we don't have to. But these are very extraordinary business times for the business. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow or 3 months from now. But at the moment, what we are trying to do is cut down any kind of wastage, renegotiate rentals, renegotiate whatever we can, and try to and have, spread the pain with the leaders taking more and lesser as you go down the thing, and try to spare the bottom end. But as far as possible, that's where we would like it to end. I can't say how it's going to be tomorrow, but we're being very transparent and discussing it openly with our team, and I'm really impressed as to how, in the one dance spirit, everybody is coming together and embracing it.
Well, on that note, I'd like to thank all three of you for taking time out and joining me. Let me tell you that this has been my most happy 30 minutes. It's extraordinary times. Hence, imagine me seeing three of you virtually gives me so much happiness. I truly hope that these dark and gloomy times pass us quickly, and hoping to see three of you in person, and of course celebrating life and old times, and of course the future.
Cheers to that,
Look forward,
Sonali.
Sonali.
Thank you. We live in
Thank you
hope.
so much.